Hey guys, what's going on? Travels of Preston here, your favorite traveler, Preston, the bitter traveler. All right, so today we got a whole nother adventure in Virginia because I really haven't been exploring all of Virginia like I should be. So for 2022, I'm definitely going to be all Virginia. I want to be an SME, which is your subject matter expert, okay? So for today, like I said, we're exploring James Monroe Highland, okay? So this is where, I guess this is where he lived at. Now it's a self-guided tour. It was about $15 per adult. So I spent $30. Shout out to my wife. She's behind the camera doing her thing again. If you watch all the Mexico videos from Moretta, hey, that was all our handiwork. So shout out to her. So as you can see, this is the actual entrance to the building, and we already got our tickets. If you look over this way a little bit, that you can see that I guess that's where the actual plantation, the house, that's all that stuff begins. So we're going to be exploring that after we actually check in. All right, guys. So let's go ahead and go inside. Let's see what we got. Come on. All right, guys. So we just got done checking in. They already knew my name because we was running late. So everything is like actually on a time based as far as when you're supposed to come, but the ticket is good for all day. All right, and I'll make sure that I will post the times that this place is actually open. All right, so like I said, we just came from the front, and so I guess this used to be like a little garden. And keep in mind, guys, that I'm not a historian to that level, so a lot of this stuff is just gonna be me just kind of reading off signs and just pointing out certain things that I see that I think is interesting. But I also will make sure I do pop-ups and stuff like that so you guys will get more information, and hopefully you guys will get inspired to do your own research and actually come and visit. Okay, guys? All right, so we just got the James Monroe, I guess, pamphlet. So one of the big things that he actually said was this oak tree. We have this huge oak tree that's actually, I guess, original in the sense that it's over 300 years old, okay? So that's actually, the guy at the front desk, Joe, he actually wanted to point that out. And he also said there was another tree right here that I'm definitely not a treeologist. That's right there that actually, that he wanted to point out. These are all two original trees. So it's actually pretty cool. All right, so like I said, we're gonna keep walking through, and I'm just gonna be stopping here and there and pointing stuff out. All right, guys, so we just made our way from the agriculture side of things. So now the building standing behind me is the actual overseer house. All right, so the overseer, his whole job is to oversee the plantation, obviously, hence the name overseer, when the master, James Monroe, is out of town doing whatever he's doing, right? So the whole plantation, the Highland, is about 3,500 acres. That is huge. I mean, it's just completely huge, and I'm gonna show you more as we continue through the course of history on James Monroe's plantation. Now, while James Monroe was gone, he was he was like an international statesman in a sense, right? So the overseer was in charge of producing roughly 6,000 bushels of wheat, right? That sounds massive to me. And also, they produced tobacco. So every year, James Monroe actually expected to do 6,000 bushels of wheat and about 12,000 pounds of tobacco. Crazy, right? So that's how they actually made their money, things of that. I guess that was their number one source of income for the plantation. All right, guys, so this structure right here, right next to the overseer, is actually is a guest house. That's what it was turned into. But the original use of this building was slave quarters, okay? So they know this through various documents and letters that James Monroe wrote over time. So like I said, James Monroe had it converted to quarters for any type of guest, you know, because that's what they did back then. They kind of like want to boast and brag. So they used their quarters, you know, to show their wealth and things of that nature. So the actual reconstruction of this building was completed around 1986. So this is what the structure looks like. And in a moment, I'll show you like the insides and stuff like that. But I think it was about 2 or 3 bedrooms and stuff like that. And like I said, this is kind of interesting that they converted it from a slave quarters to guest housing. So we haven't found the actual slave quarters yet, but I'm sure it's around here somewhere. So we'll definitely be on the lookout for that. Okay. All right, guys, so we're moving away from the overseer and the slave quarters, or that was turned into guest rooms. So now we're at the physical house, okay? So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start on this side of the house, and we're gonna make our way through this room and through a room over there, okay? So we're gonna try to see what we can find out from the different placards and things of that nature. So let's go. All right, guys, so we just came inside to the first section of the basement of the house. So this actually structure right here, the structure right here was actually built, well, the whole house was built in 1818, right? So this was actually used for different lodgers or things of that nature. So two slaves, Peter and George, which they don't know too much about, actually are responsible for building this house. So when James Monroe came to the Highland area, he lived in the actual, like another building, another house that only had 2 bedrooms. It was like a little small, a very small house. All right, guys, so we just actually got into this small room underneath the main house. So this right here was actually built for different lodgers or things of that nature. So let me go back a little bit. James Monroe, he actually moved to the Highland area in November of 1799. Okay, and where he actually lived was not here. He lived in a 2-winged house, which I'm assuming was probably kind of small for that time period. And later on, so this house was actually built in 1818 by 2 slaves, Peter and George. Not too much is known about them, so I can't really elaborate too much. But I thought that was very interesting that this house was built by 2 slaves as usual. So they don't really say when he actually moved here. I'm sure I can find that out if I dig a little bit more. But as of right now, according to this sheet right here, that they don't really say the day that he moved in or the year. But this house was actually burned down in, I think around I think he sold this house around 1826. And around that time after he left is when this house burned down and a new owner, took over, things of that nature. All right, guys, so coming from the other side of the basement, we just moved our way into these 2 compartments. So the first compartment, as you can see, it has very, very, I guess, old-fashioned like looms and things of that nature to extract wool. All right, so the wool, you might say, so James Monroe was actually kind of smart on this, that he actually imported certain sheep from Spain and actually infused it with, I guess, American sheeps to give it a better texture, make it a little bit more high grade, okay? So essentially enslaved women will be in here extracting it and, washing it and things of that nature, getting it ready to actually be woven together by using these different machines and stuff like that to get it ready to be sold. All right, so the second part of this room is actually, it looks like there's not really a plaque in here, but as you can see from all the tools and things of that nature and barrels, you can probably estimate that this is a storage room. So you got different things hanging up, you got rakes and things of that nature, pots, shovel, look like shovels, pickets, things of that nature. So yeah, I got a little bit of wine. So this is definitely probably like a cellar storage type of area. All right, guys, so right next to all the places where the enslaved women would be doing all the shearing and cultivating all the wool is the kitchen, right? So it's kind of dark in here, but as you can see, it's just pretty much a basic early 1800, late 1700s kitchen. They got pots, pans, obviously have a fireplace in here. They have like a little place set of food that they used to eat, steaks and like blackberry pies and things of that nature. So this part right here probably was built around 1857, and I'll show you that a little later. But yeah, so around 1857, they built this side of it to add the kitchen and things of that nature. So like I told you, keep in mind that this structure, the whole original structure was burned down in the early 1800s. So they had to rebuild through the various owners of the house. All right, guys, so we just came back out. So under further investigation, if you look behind me, you see 2 chimneys at the top, one on the left, one on the right, okay? So anything from the left side, i.e. right here, was built in the original infrastructure. We're just talking about the lower part, okay, guys? And that was built in 1818, so keep that in mind. And on this, where the kitchen at, from that chimney over, was built in the mid 1800s, around 1857. All right, guys, so we just got done exploring all of the front of the house. underneath the basement in the original part, well, some of the original part. So I wanted to stop right here before we continue on this journey. And you can see the side of the house, right? So actually on the balcony part right there, it was actually built in 1847, right? So let me I say, like the original part was down in the basement. That was the lodge and stuff like that, that the original two slaves, Peter and George, built. But that was built in 1847. And then for the original house, built in 1818, is more or less right here in the center part, where you can see the one single window right there. And as you walk around the corner, which we will do in a couple of seconds, that was built post 1818. So obviously that's just years upon years of just building on the main structure of the 1818. All right, guys, so we just got back on the side of the house. And remember, I was telling you around the corner, which this part right here was built in the post 1818, all right? So you got like a little bit of a courtyard, not very impressive at all. You can see both houses. I'm assuming this is obviously built much later, probably late 1800s or early 1900s, okay? So right now, we're gonna go inside the building. Hopefully, we can record. I know the front desk guy said that we can take pictures, but I'm not sure about the video, okay? So when we go in, we'll find out. And if so, you can see some amazing things. I know he did, so I want to caveat that there's a musket that's inside that does not belong to the actual foundation. It belongs to actual private owner that you're not allowed to take pictures, okay? So I'm not sure where that's located, but there is a person inside that's willing to help you and, you know, tell you a little bit of history about the inside of the house, or maybe just overall of the whole Highland area. But it is supposed to be self-guided, and you do need to have a mask when you go inside. But obviously outside, you can, you know, be free-spirited, if you will, all right? And obviously, as you can see, there's really not a lot of people here. Maybe a lot of people don't come here, but I think it's actually overall, I actually do like this this particular location, just because there's not a lot of people, it's not very high traffic, and the price was decent, I guess, $15 a person. So, but nonetheless, let's go inside, let's see what we can do. All right, guys, so we just came out the house. So like I figured, there's no recording, but it is actually beautiful in there. I mean, I would say give it about 45 minutes to try to read everything. So some of the stuff is, like I said, like the little musket or little pistol, the flint pistols. You can't take a picture of that, but it's a huge painting of the famous painting of George Washington crossing the Delaware River. So, you know, your boy had to get the picture on, you know. So they actually said, so in the main area, like the main foyer, is over the kitchen that you saw earlier in the video, that they're saying that they're trying to actually move, I guess, this part of the house so they can dig a little bit more to see what else they can find. So I think it was absolutely beautiful. It gives you a brief history of the Highland, you know, a little bit before James Monroe, and a little bit during, obviously, and after, you know, like why he sold the house and things of that nature. So apparently he just pretty much just, you know, went belly up with his properties, and he had to sell it around 1826. So so this is on the back side of things. It's like one more thing I want to look at. It's a statue, and that's pretty much it. And we call it a day, but we're gonna get over there before we wrap it up. All right, guys, so on the way from the house to the actual statue, we have one of the original mile markers back in the 1800s. So this is an iron casting of mileage marker on Highway 40, okay? This is the first federally supported interstate roadway created during James Monroe presidency. So I thought it was pretty cool. I thought that would be a good, you know, thing to show you guys on the way over. All right, guys, so actually taking the little path from the house to the mile marker. Now it culminates right here with a big, huge statue of James Monroe, 1758 to 1831. So this was actually, I guess, donated or inspired. I think the guy is from France or something like that. I got to do a little bit more research on that. The guy at the front desk, he actually just kind of told me about it. So it was kind of like in passing. So I definitely didn't get too much information, and there's no placards out here, but this is absolutely beautiful. Another beautiful plantation. if you will. Obviously, the story behind plantations is not beautiful, but the area is actually nice. And we're not that far from Monticello, so I would highly encourage you when you come out here, make sure you do your planning, and you can actually visit a lot of stuff in Charlottesville, Virginia, which we're currently located at. I know it's at least 3 presidents out here, particularly this one and Monticello, which is Thomas Jefferson. All right, so I hope you enjoyed this video of the Highland of President James Monroe. This is Travels of Preston signing off. Peace.